It started as a simple swipe. Left to right, that's it. No long bios, no emails, no effort required to dismiss someone's entire romantic potential in half a second. But here's the thing about simple ideas, they're often the most dangerous ones. Over 75 billion matches made since launch, but also countless fake profiles, romance scams that have cost victims billions globally, and a generation that's simultaneously more connected and more lonely than ever before. From a frat house idea born in a startup incubator to a company that's generated $1.94 billion in revenue last year, Tinder didn't just change dating, it weaponized it. But did Tinder really help us connect, or did it kill romance for good? Dating in 2012 was broken, and 4 guys in a startup incubator thought they had the fix. Sean Rad, Justin Mateen, Jonathan Badeen, and their team were staring at the online dating landscape. All those lengthy profiles, awkward messages, and hours of investment before knowing if someone was even remotely interested, and they saw opportunity in the chaos. Their solution was brilliantly simple and slightly terrifying. They originally called it Matchbox because apparently even the name needed to be dumbed down before settling on Tinder. The concept was stolen or borrowed from Hot or Not, that early 2000 website where people rated strangers' photos, mixed with college party culture where snap judgments ruled everything. Jonathan Badeen claims the swipe feature was inspired by pulling a playing card from a deck. Whether that's true or just good marketing, it doesn't matter, because that swipe became the most addictive gesture in digital history. They tested it first at USC and other college campuses, and it spread like wildfire, not because it was revolutionary, but because it was reductive. It took the complexity of human attraction and reduced it to a binary choice delivered through the most primal part of our decision-making process. Within months, college students were addicted to it. The app had accidentally discovered something psychologists called intermittent reinforcement. You know, the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. Swipe, 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 match! The dopamine hit was immediate, unpredictable, and therefore irresistible. Tinder launched at the exact perfect storm moment in digital history. Smartphones were finally good enough, Facebook had taught everyone to present their best selves through photos, and hookup culture was already mainstream. Tinder just made it efficient. Frighteningly efficient. The gamification was genius in its simplicity. Clean user interface, instant gratification, and that addictive dopamine loop of endless possibilities. By its early years, Tinder was facilitating 4 million matches per day. That's 4 million moments where 2 strangers decided they found each other attractive enough to potentially meet. The scale was unprecedented in human history. Over 60% of users were under 25 in those early years, which meant an entire generation was learning about romance through an app that treated people like playing cards. Tinder didn't need a marketing budget because it had something more powerful. Cultural curiosity mixed with social proof mixed with the fear of missing out. App Store rankings skyrocketed without traditional advertising because the app itself was the marketing. Every match was a micro-endorsement. Every date was a word-of-mouth advertising. Every relationship that started on Tinder was a success story the company didn't have to pay for. The celebrity adoption was inevitable. Katy Perry, Hilary Duff, Shawn Mendes, Sam Smith. Suddenly, stars were publicly admitting to using the same app as college freshmen. In 2015, Hilary Duff featured Tinder in her music video, essentially giving the platform a multi-million-dollar endorsement for free. When celebrities start advertising your product accidentally, you know you've transcended from being just an app. You've become a cultural phenomenon. Now, the story gets messy because Tinder's success created a classic Silicon Valley problem: too much money, too many egos, and not enough clarity about who deserves what. The app was owned by Match Group, which was owned by IAC, and Tinder became the golden goose nobody wanted to kill, but everybody wanted to control. Sean Rad, one of its original founders, found himself pushed out of the CEO position really fast. The leadership shakeups were constant and dramatic, like a reality TV show about corporate backstabbing. But the real drama came in 2018 when Tinder's founders sued Match Group for a staggering $2 billion, claiming fraud over stock options. They argued that Match Group had deliberately undervalued Tinder to reduce their payouts, essentially stealing billions from the people who created the company's most valuable asset. The lawsuit was settled in 2021 for $441 million, which sounds like a lot, until you realize it was less than a quarter of what they were asking for. Meanwhile, Tinder was printing money through subscriptions nobody thought would work. Tinder Gold, Tinder Plus, Super Likes, Boosts, Passport. They took a free app and convinced millions to pay for the illusion of better odds of finding love. With 9.6 million subscribers in 2024 and $1.94 billion in revenue, Tinder became the highest-grossing non-gaming app globally. Think about that for a moment. A simple swiping mechanism became more profitable than most Fortune 500 companies. But here's what nobody talks about in those glassy success stories. Tinder's simplicity made it a playground for predators, scammers, and people who saw lonely hearts as profit opportunities. Catfishing exploded because the app's photocentric design made it easier than ever to steal someone's identity. Romance fraud became a billion-dollar global industry, with Tinder as one of the primary hunting grounds. Fake profiles and bots became so common that users developed their own detection systems, sharing tips on how to spot automated accounts designed to steal personal information or money. Dozens of documented crimes were linked to Tinder meetups, assaults, robberies, and worse. The 2022 Netflix documentary, The Tinder Swindler, exposed how one man used the platform to scam multiple women out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, but he wasn't quite unique. Just more successful than most. Users report addiction to swiping, FOMO, and something called dating app fatigue, the paradox of having more romantic options than any generation in history while feeling more lonely and disconnected. Studies show that despite having more connections, many users report lower self-esteem and increased anxiety about relationships. The most damaging controversy came early when Whitney Wolfe Herd, one of Tinder's key early employees, filed a lawsuit in 2014 for sexual harassment. She alleged that co-founder Justin Mateen repeatedly called her a whore and subjected her to horrendously sexist, racist, and other inappropriate comments. She reportedly received over $1 million in the settlement, but the damage to Tinder's reputation was lasting. Ironically, Wolfe Herd went on to found Bumble, Tinder's biggest competitor, built specifically to address the toxic masculinity she experienced at Tinder. Her revenge was creating a better product. Tinder normalized what researchers call disposable intimacy, the idea that human connections require no effort, carry no emotional weight, and can be discarded as easily as they're formed. So why, despite all these problems, do 75 million people still use Tinder every month? The answer reveals something uncomfortable about modern dating. For many people, it feels like the only option. Traditional meeting places, bars, clubs, through friends, feel increasingly impossible in a world where everyone's looking at their phones even when they're physically together. During the pandemic, Tinder adapted by adding video call features, keeping itself relevant while in-person dating became impossible. The platform has spawned countless imitators and niche variations, farmers only for rural communities, religious-based apps for faith-centered dating, even Raya for celebrities and verified professionals, but these specialized platforms only prove Tinder's broader point. If you're not where the people are, you're nowhere. The celebrity stories reveal just how deeply Tinder has penetrated popular culture. Shawn Mendes, Louis Capaldi, and Zac Efron have all publicly admitted to using the app, which says something about how normalized digital dating has become when A-list celebrities are willing to acknowledge they need help meeting people. Chelsea Handler had perhaps the most Tinder experience of all. Her account was banned because nobody believed it was actually her. Imagine being so famous that an algorithm designed to connect people assumes you're too good to be real. But the real behavioral changes are more subtle and more disturbing. Right swipes are now influenced by factors that have nothing to do with attraction. Race, job titles, Instagram follower counts, even grammar and bio sections. The app that promised to democratize dating based on pure physical attraction became another way to reinforce existing social hierarchies. Tinder Passport, which allows users to match globally, was heavily used during COVID for what people called digital tourism, swiping in other cities or countries just for the novelty. Some users discovered Tinder tourism, using the app not for dating but for free accommodation or experiences abroad, essentially turning romantic connection into a travel hack. Today, the platform has evolved beyond dating for many users. People use it for networking, ego validation, content creation for social media, or simply entertainment. The swipe gesture has become so ingrained in digital behavior that other apps have copied it for completely unrelated reasons. Fun fact here, actually, terms like ghosting, benching, and breadcrumbing entered mainstream vocabulary because Tinder normalized behaviors that previous generations would have considered unacceptably rude. The app didn't just change how we date, it changed how we think about human courtesy. The transformation is complete and irreversible. Relationships now often start with a swipe rather than a story. Instead of meeting someone through friends, work, or shared activities, contexts that provide natural conversation starters and mutual connections, people meet through optimized photos and fake bios designed to maximize appeal to strangers. Real-world romance, with all its messy spontaneity and gradual revelation, has been replaced by front-loaded optimization and instant messaging. The mystery, the spark, the gradual getting to know someone, all replaced by filters, algorithms, and the assumption that compatibility can be determined in seconds. Men swipe right far more often than women, while women receive significantly more matches, creating an imbalance that frustrates everyone involved. Men feel like they're shouting into the void, women feel overwhelmed by options, and both sides report feeling more isolated despite having access to more potential partners than any generation in history. Dating fatigue is real and measurable. People report feeling exhausted by the process of presenting themselves repeatedly to strangers, having the same introductory conversation dozens of times, and investing emotional energy in connections that disappear as quickly as they appear. The paradox of choice that psychologists warned about has become a lived reality for millions of people. Tinder gave people more choices than any generation in human history, but did it also make us less capable of actually choosing? The app that promises to solve loneliness might have made it worse by teaching us that there's always someone better just a swipe away. Do you think dating apps ruined romance or made it easier for the right people to discover each other? Drop your opinion in the comments. Left swipe or right? And if the story of digital disruption meets human nature intrigued you, wait until you hear about OnlyFans, the platform that turned personal relationships into the most profitable business model per employee in digital history. Click here to watch that story now.